Welcome back to the fifth episode of the Hideaway podcast. My name is Winfield Jones, and I'm joined here on the island by Andy. Andy, say something.
Hello.
And JP.
What's up?
If you're new here to the podcast, this is a place where you can hide away from the crazy rhetoric of today. We all have different opinions. They're all welcome here. We're all human. We make mistakes. But the goal of this podcast is to have a conversation about it and conversation about our ideas, not argue about them. First part of the episode, we're going to be talking about the new norm. And what I mean by that is not the norm that we have now with the quarantine, but what it's going to look like after. What we're going to be seeing in regards of contact, what we're seeing at sports stadiums and that kind of stuff. No matter how much it changes, there is going to be a change, and we are going to see it. It's just a matter of what we think it's going to be. For instance, I think a lot of the handshaking and all that kind of stuff is going to go away. No one's going to want to touch someone's hand after this, at least for a little while. No one's going to want to shake hands. They're all going to do elbow bumps or away from a distance or all that kind of stuff.
I completely agree. I actually think after going off that point, I think even nowadays or back before this virus, there's a really big push for hand washing and stuff like that, which of course is always super important. But I think nowadays we're actually going to see in the future a way bigger push for hand washing, which I don't even think will be possible. But I think there's going to be people out there going to enforce hand washing and do stuff like that.
I don't know if it'll be a bigger push, let's say, but I mean, they push it already. They put signs up everywhere, wash your hands. But how many people actually pay attention to that? Because let's say last year when I was living in a college dorm and we all had to use the same bathroom. Do you know how many kids wash their hands? There is maybe 5 people, myself included, that actually wash their hands.
Yeah.
But I think
I like how you specified that. I like how you specified
myself
that
is
you wash your
included in
hands.
this.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Listen, I'm not that scumbag that doesn't wash his hands after the bathroom, but
yeah,
I'm hoping that will go up.
I think that you're gonna see signs everywhere,
like
every
in places
public
that you
restroom.
wouldn't typically see signs.
Places that you wouldn't typically see stuff like that. In restaurants, you see employees must wash hands after using the bathroom and stuff.
Maybe it'll change away from employees to employees and patrons.
Everybody
must wash hands.
I mean, that's definitely true. Just going off restaurants, though, I think restaurants are going to do a deeper job of cleaning tables, silverware, plates, all that stuff that multiple people use over a course of a couple days. I think you're going to see stuff that's being cleaned more frequently with a higher germ killing ratio. I don't know what the right term is for that, but stronger cleaning products.
Typically, actually, they don't use cleaning products necessarily when doing those dishes. They have these industrial dishwashers that just use these super hot water, and then they just blast these dishes. It takes 10 minutes roughly of just boiling hot water that they are blasting over the dishes. So I wonder if they will actually start using your typical cleaning product. But other than that, they just use hot water to try to kill everything on there.
They do sanitize. I think any respectable food institution uses some sanitizer, whether it be the proper amount.
You see hand sanitizing stations, though.
No, not.
At the camp I worked at, we were mandated to have separate washing bins for washing, rinsing, and then sanitizing. And then we are using, in the big washing machine, the industrial washing machine, which is really fun to operate. It does squirt in soap, just a little bit, a tiny amount of, not actual bubbly soap, but some kind of chemical formula. I think the amount of cleaning stuff is going to be even increased.
The regulations are going to be changed for sure.
Yeah, heightened, almost. Yeah. And I think a weird thing is going to be seen where, I know people have already started talking about it, but what are live events going to be looking like?
There's been a recent push to building the world's biggest venues, having as many people around as possible. You see the stadium nowadays, they can hold 60,000 people and stuff like that. I think it's definitely going to be a very long time until we're able to get to have 60,000 people in one place, all really close together at a sporting event. It's going to take a while to get to that point.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't even know if anybody will want to do that again, because I think we've been all made aware of how easy it is to catch something from someone else.
Exactly. And I think with that, though, this is a change that will probably be ish years away, but will we see a reduction of the amount of people that a stadium can hold? Because recently we see bigger stadiums, bigger venues, bigger stuff like that, but will we actually see a more decreased number
I,
of people that are actually allowed to be in those venues?
I don't think we will.
Why?
Really?
Unless it's government regulated, the people that own the stadium still want to make the most amount of money that they can possibly make. And by
Yeah, but
reducing
at the
the amount
same
of seats in
time,
there,
at the
they're
same
like,
time, you don't want to be the the person or the facility that is the epicenter of another major
Breakout.
outbreak.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be one of those things where it's one of those free market things where it may be mandated. But the people who own Wrigley Field and Soldier Field and the United Center here in Chicago,
You miss guaranteed rate field.
yeah, I don't like saying that name. It's one of the dumbest names.
It's
But
dumb.
but those people are definitely going to try to go back to having full capacity. That's capitalism. It depends on the fan bases and it depends on the people and all that kind of stuff. But there's going to be a lot more people who are more conscious of not wanting to go to a baseball game or a hockey
Yeah.
game with all those people, and you're going to have to start catering to those people. And you may see a small section in a stadium that's social distancing section where you do have little segments of seats in together, but for the most part they're all spread out. And I think maybe over time more and more people are going to want that because it will start to become the social norm, hopefully. And markets are going to have to react to that.
I think going off that, though, might see an increase of watch parties type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That more of teams host events in maybe different restaurants or different venues that have a cap of X number of people, so that they can bring kind of that stadium experience to people who may or may not want to go into that massive stadium.
Actually, a really smart idea. I never even thought of that. I've seen that. That's definitely happened. That's definitely been done a little bit.
I mean, they do it for major
away
events.
games. They do it for away games.
Yeah, and you can start doing that now with all events. That'd be cool. All these different restaurants teaming up with the official watch party of the Chicago Cubs, or
I can see that.
That'd be
already
super. That would be a really cool integration to see. Yeah, but it's going to be a crazy, I think, next couple of
years.
Did we talk on the podcast? I know we've had this conversation, but what is the Super Bowl going to look like?
I think this year it's going to be, I can only see it with extremely limited capacity because the Super Bowl venues themselves have to hit certain criteria to be allowed to fulfill the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
What those criteria are, I'm not positive on. I do know it is amount of seats and amount of people that they can put in the stadium, and it's massive. It's above 60,000 for sure.
It is.
Yeah, it's huge.
And then the other criteria for you to have the Super Bowl is hotel spots. So I mean, the Super Bowl is literally designed to cram as many people into a position as possible.
Yeah.
And I just don't think by February of 2021 that the world is going to be ready for that. I mean, it's going to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen with fans, or if it does happen, it's going to happen with extremely limited capacity.
I think there's going to be a limited capacity on the fans that are actually allowed inside the venue. My worry is a lot of people go down, let's say the Super Bowl is happening in Miami. Everybody wants to go to Miami. Everybody wants to go to Tampa during the winter. It's nice. It's warm. There's a bunch of people there all having a party. Whether they actually going to the game or not, whatever. So how do you limit people coming down to Florida or wherever the Super Bowl is? How do you prevent them from doing that? Because whether you limit it in the stands or not, the effect I think will still be the same.
Yeah, I don't think you can though, because the only way they would be able to do it would be a government mandate type thing, which I don't think that they would do. But I think the NFL in itself would do everything that they could to limit the capacity the way that the NFL would touch. So obviously not individual parties and stuff the NFL has no control over.
Yeah,
but anything the NFL has control over, they're going to reduce their liability and chance to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing for everyone. For every company, no matter what they do, is like
absolutely
liability. One of the family friends' office spaces, we're going to move to open offices where you didn't actually have your own desk. You would go to a station and you'd move around and all that
Yep,
kind of stuff.
I know exactly what you're
That was
talking about.
because they didn't want to pay for more seating, basically.
Yep.
What it boils down to, it's been proven that open offices are wildly inefficient, but it's a cost efficient in their minds because it looks very cheap to do because you're saving space, you're not having to pay for everybody's workstation and all that kind of stuff. But now I don't see that ever be going to be able to come back to that. No one in their right mind now is going to want to work and touch the same things that someone
Other
just
people have
touched.
touched. Yeah.
You want your own space. I'm not saying we should go back to cubicles because cubicles suck, but I think we're going to see different ways of that's just too much liability for a company to have an open office space at an open environment where there's no protection of the employees. If there's an employee outbreak now, what are they going to say? Oh, we were trying to save money.
I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but the wide expanse of working from home, or the working from home norm is going to expand in the next couple of years. With the introduction of this stay-at-home orders, companies have seen that people can still be completely effective at home. They can still complete their work at home. And so the companies are going to realize that, hey, we don't have to pay for their transit to come down, or we don't have to pay for their lunch, their space, any of that. I think companies in themselves will probably try to downsize office space. Not saying jobs, but just office space themselves, just become extremely cost efficient, but also to protect against this kind of liability stuff that we were just talking about.
Yeah, you were saying that your sister has been told she can work at home for the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, so she can voluntarily work from home until 2021.
My dad's in the same boat.
Yeah, I think a lot of employees are going to start seeing that.
I think it's like you said, it's partially all right, this is a pandemic, everybody stay home. But a lot of it is companies are looking at their bottom line at the moment and they're like, wait a minute, we're saving a lot more money than forcing everyone to come in. And for the most part, I'd say productivity went down for a little while. I'm a project manager for a company, and I saw a dip in productivity, even in myself. At the beginning of the whole thing, when everybody was still trying to figure out their routines and all that kind of stuff, but give it a couple weeks and we're all on track again. And it's actually easier for me to manage everyone because we're constantly staying in contact now. We have an all hands meeting every Monday, and it's so much more easy to be accountable when we couldn't have done that any time beforehand. It's nice. Yeah.
I'd like to see the stats on it over a longer period of time because,
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at it month by month and you can see, oh, I mean, obviously the first month they're expected probably to lose a lot of productivity, which for some companies means a loss of money.
Mhm.
But how does it look? Let's say it's July, August. Are they still not as productive or have they increased it or is it the same?
Mhm.
I think it's something that's going to be widely studied once this is all calmed
Oh,
down
yeah.
a bit.
And
I think so.
that's what's awesome about the information age that we're in now. Any major company in any way has a project management system or something to keep track of workers' time. And they had that before. So they had a lot of data on what was coming in and what's going out. And we have that data now. So it's way easier to see and track. For my company, I have graphs that show me daily how many tasks everybody has and how many are uncompleted, how many are overdue, and that can be all exported and I can graph that over time. I'm really excited to see the long-term studies because I think it will be really interesting because definitely working from home is not for everyone. Some people just need to get out. We might start seeing smaller offices everywhere, and you know that little apartment building near New Trier, right as you're going towards the train track, towards 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
There's little offices underneath there that have kind of long been sitting untouched, and
They're
no one
vacant,
goes.
aren't they?
Yeah, they're always
Yeah.
vacant. I think a lot of people are going to be like, all right, we're going to have a group of you in that area. That's where you're going to go work and have these little office spaces, these little clusters, and just kind of not splitting it up and distancing in a way that's more meaningful. And people are coming up with these crazy ideas all the time, and it's going to completely transform how we all work.
Yeah, as almost college seniors. Have any of you guys finished yet?
I finished my stuff this past week.
All right, then congratulations, you're both college seniors.
Well, I don't know what I am. That
I mean, he's a junior.
Yeah, maybe next year might not be a great time to graduate.
I think it'll be a way better time to graduate.
It's
than
way
this
better
year.
than right now.
Dude, I feel so bad for the people that graduated right now. Like they don't get graduation, they don't get any of that. And then you're
Yeah.
walking into this garbage show of a job
Yeah.
market.
Yeah.
It's
The people at
Yeah.
RIT, since our graduation was obviously canceled, there was a group that was on RIT's campus that was rebuilding RIT block by block in Minecraft. So they had their own graduation ceremony where they had everybody log into Minecraft who wanted to and sit in where they would have had the graduation ceremony. And they had this fake graduation.
that's actually wicked cool.
I mean, it's nice for them to do.
It's cool, and it was a very unofficial thing, but I wouldn't want that. I feel so bad for the people that have to kind of make their own graduation ceremony for themselves.
A lot of people aren't even getting it.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was interesting though. You know how at schools and stuff like that, you see graduation photos from all the years past,
Yeah.
and you see like student bodies are growing bigger or whatever. 2020 is gonna have an asterisk next to it, so all the kids in 2050 are gonna be like, "What happened to 2020? Where's their photo?"
Yeah.
Oh,
and
they'll
like-
know.
It's gonna be a screenshot of a Zoom call or something.
And it's like the same thing with camps. My camp that I worked at, we take staff photos every year, and we have staff photos for every year except I think it was 1942. We tell kids it was because of the war, but it was because of polio. We didn't have camp open that year, and I just got an email this past week that camp will be closed. We're not even doing, as of right now, we're not even doing major work projects. Instead, we're just not letting anyone up there. And that's huge. Chicago has said, oh, we're going to keep our camps open. I don't know how that's going to be done.
It's
But-
not going to be done that well, I don't
Yeah.
think.
It's gonna be hard.
2020 is the asterisk year of our generation.
I mean, of everything, like
Yeah.
Thus
sports
far,
titles,
yeah.
like all of
Yeah.
that.
I'm sure all the college students and all the high school seniors and all that kind of stuff are all hearing it. I've been hearing we're the next great generation and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure we're all a little stronger because of it. But it's just this once in a lifetime thing that I hope we never see ever again. I hope we as a generation never have to experience anything this disruptive again in our lifetimes.
Well, coming back to the looking forward to
We'll
the
see.
future part, whatever changes, I hope that it is in
for the
it's
better.
a preventative measure of this happening again.
That's the nice thing about the bright side, if there is one, of every major event like this, every major, one could argue a catastrophe, is that it's always a learning experience. There's always something to be learned from these darker times, and there's always some insights to be gained from these crazy experiences that everyone goes through. We always, as a society, come out stronger and more knowledgeable and learn how to prevent what we have experienced from happening again. And it'll be cool to see our preventative measures in the future.
Yeah.
And on that note, I am going to send us on a break. We'll see you right after. Welcome back to the second half of the Hideaway podcast. My name is Winfield Jones, and I'm still joined by Andy Shade and JP Fry. On the second half of the podcast, we're going to be talking about our music preferences. I know you guys care about that so much. JP, what do you like?
That's a great question. It depends on which JP you're asking, honestly. If you're
Are we
talking,
talking about
what does that
truck,
even mean?
trucker garage JP? Or are we talking about on a date JP?
listen, if you're talking to fifth grade me, I was edgy. I'd like to listen to Eminem and rap only. It was a cool thing to do. Yeah. It was a very cringy period of time. I'm kind of embarrassed that I went through it, honestly.
I mean, Eminem's good.
But there was just
Is he?
he is no,
Is he?
he is undeniably
He's objectively good.
One, he is
Yeah.
extremely successful. His stuff sells. Objectively good. Two, he can rhyme almost any word. Also objectively good, whether it's your style or not. Like, can you rhyme almost any word? Probably not, unless you have a unknown rap career that I don't know about. But he can rap very fast.
Not only can he rap fast, he can rap fast with diction. He is more clear while he's rapping fast than some people that I've met while talking. You're able to understand what he is saying even though he is speaking at 30 times what a normal person is talking. He has that ability and he has that training to be able to for other people to be able to understand what he's saying. So yes,
his
he
raps
is
are also
objectively good.
different than what most rappers rap about, which sets him
Mhm.
apart and makes, in my opinion, that's good.
Yes.
Because if you're just going to be like everybody else, then why listen to you? So whether you like him or not, he is objectively good.
So that was 5th grade JP.
That
What
was
is
that
former
was
modern?
JP.
JP. What's modern day
what is,
JP
what
like?
is the modern man, JP?
The modern JP.
Honestly, I have about 6,000 songs on my library, ranging from country to rap to rock to some EDM. I have pretty much everything on there except for like screamo and gospel music. Those are two that I can't.
The extreme ends.
I just can't get into either of those. But
Yeah.
I'll listen to about anything that I think, sounds good. I know it's very basic.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to challenge you here. Most people have a very wide genre set in their library, but you don't listen to the entirety of that library constantly unless you really love music. What are the things that, if you're going to listen to, what are the first things that you're going to listen to?
This is wild. This might be wild to you, but whenever I listen to music, I just hit the shuffle button on my entire library and see what pops
That's
up.
disgusting. That's
Yep.
disgusting to me. You are
Because
an animal.
Okay, so if my girlfriend's in the car, I'll go to the country genre because she loves country, and then I'll
Shocking.
shuffle from there. But if I'm by myself, my entire library just gets shuffled in one go.
That's so weird
Like you
to
know,
me.
like you
That
know
is interesting.
Hamilton, like the musical. I have the entire soundtrack on my phone. It's actually a very good soundtrack, and I know
It's a really amazing soundtrack.
it's
I
quite
love that
good.
soundtrack.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
No.
Yes, I saw it in Chicago.
Oh, really?
It's an
Yeah.
amazing production. They closed down this January.
Recently.
Yeah,
But
they're
yes.
supposed to actually come to, guess where? Schenectady. Yeah,
When was that supposed to happen?
sometime
Right
around
now?
now. Yeah, I don't. We got
Oops.
kind of screwed there because I would have gone and seen it again because I saw it down in New York City.
Oh, that's awesome. You and I will agree on this, but I love Lin-Manuel Miranda. I love what he's done and what he has created, but there are better Hamiltons that have played that part. People who have played the part of Hamilton than him.
I've seen it twice. I've seen his rendition, and then I really can't remember the other guy's rendition, and the other guy's was actually better.
Yeah, I think Lin-Manuel Miranda is really good with the lyrics and really good at making the story. He's a really
Correct.
good story crafter. But his rap and his singing aren't up to par of a normal Broadway person who's been training for years to do
Yeah.
that role. Yeah, and that makes sense. It's cool that he's able to do it and do it so well as someone who wrote and directed and produced the play.
Yeah,
But
he was an
there's-
aspect of all parts of it. That's just
Yeah.
what's crazy.
And what's crazy about that production is, I know we're straying off topic, but
It's music.
if you guys have the time, and I'll link it, Adam Savage did a whole series of going through a lot of the behind the scenes of the play in San Francisco just recently. So it was how the person who does all the microphones for all of the actors makes each microphone to fit them perfectly, and all of the set changes and how all those work. They have things hanging up in the rafters that will come down, and they talk about all the logistics of everything of the play, and it's super cool. Even if you're not super interested in stage productions, it's a fascinating machine that is just constantly working every night, except for right now. But it's cool to watch. I'll link it below. I highly recommend it. So you have that, you have rap, you have metal. Do you listen to any metal?
I have, let's see, I have a couple metal songs. I got reggae, I got R&B. I got a lot.
EDM.
Yes, I have a couple EDM, much to Adler's probably disappointment, but
Not enough. Not
not enough
Yeah.
EDM most likely. But I got so much.
It's nice to have an eclectic music taste. You get
A variety's good.
Yeah, it feels if I mean if I was listening to one genre, I'd just be stuck there.
oh yeah, totally. I wouldn't recommend that to
And
anyone.
then if you
Always
just listen,
branch out.
yeah, exactly. Shady.
Shady, what do you listen
What?
to?
Yeah, what do you listen to?
Is it just the original Star Wars soundtrack, just on
No.
loop? Okay.
No, I could do that if I wanted to, but no. I call me old-fashioned, but I listen to the radio still.
Radio.
Radio.
What kind of radio station?
Some classic rock radio stations that are in the Chicago area that I know of, as well as there's some more modern ones that will play some more modern music along with it. I have a Spotify account as well as have Apple Music and stuff like that. So if I want to, if I liked a specific song, I could just get on Spotify and listen to it again. But if I'm listening to music, I'm usually doing something else while listening to music. So I'm either doing homework or working on something or something like that. So I usually just will either go to iHeartRadio or actually turn on a physical radio that I have, and I'll usually just let that run as I do the other thing that I do.
Interesting.
I'm not a person who just listens to music for the sake of listening to music. I can't do that at all. I have to be doing something while I listen to the music.
You're a guy who likes to be doing things, I've noticed, where it's just you have to be
I
like
try not to stay idle.
yeah, definitely. You're always
And if I am at that point where I'm just listening to music, I could just be doing something else, watching something that I would want to see or something.
Mhm.
So I listen to music when I just I'm doing something.
totally. And so you say mainly classic rock and all that kind of stuff. I guess you're at
Some classic rock, and I'll listen to some of the modern stuff that comes on if it pops onto the radio.
what's out of all of that? What's your favorite bands and all that kind of stuff that when it comes on, you're like, yeah.
There's definitely a couple. I enjoy AC/DC, some of their songs. Some of them are bad, but some of them are pretty good. The ones that they play on the radio are pretty good.
Yeah,
I
mean,
usually play the hits, which
obviously,
is
yeah.
part of the reason I like the radio is because I don't ever get a bad song, or I sometimes will get a bad song, but most of it's popular hits. Beatles are another band I really enjoy listening to, and then I'll listen to some Aerosmith as well, which
okay.
also
Controversial
good.
opinion incoming. I don't like the Beatles.
They're pretty classic. I just found
They're
myself growing up
classic.
with
They're
them.
I know
Yeah.
that they are, but I'm over them.
Well, that's because you're only listening to probably Yellow Submarine and maybe 3 other songs. A lot of people who say they like the Beatles will play you
Yellow Submarine and Hey Jude, and then
Hey
that's
Jude
like it.
and maybe sometime I Want to Hold Your Hand
Yeah.
or something like that. There's a lot of hidden gems on their albums, especially as they
I
get
find some of
older.
the Beatles' best music are the ones that are not played very often.
Yeah, and it's because those are the ones that have actually transformed the industry.
Yes.
The poppy stuff when they first started out, it's good music, obviously. It's very fun, but it's not transformative in any way. But if you listen to the White Album, as it's known, all the little ones that are on there, Bungalow Bill and Rocky Raccoon, those are 2 just crazy ones that are on there. And they've even influenced hard rock, jazz, and blues. And I think that's why I appreciate them. Yes, Yellow Submarine's fun. And it's a fun thing to hear once in a blue moon. I think it's overplayed. I agree with you. I think people just gravitate towards that song because that's what they know. But I think I encourage you, I implore you to kind of dig a little deeper. Their anthologies are really cool too. And you get to hear them actually talking. They're really funny. They kind of talk shit to each other all the time when they're recording. Because at the time of recording, they were our age. It's mind-blowing to me. A whole bunch of 20-something-year-olds are recording some of the most influential music ever made. And they're 20-year-olds, so you hear them like making fun of each other. And
the fun stuff about it also is that they were some of the first people to put Easter eggs in their music.
Yep.
So if you played the recording backwards, it would say stuff. And
yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
Rain has the whole underlying track of Rain, their song, is just Rain backwards. The whole song is just backwards, and it's really quiet. But so technically, you can listen to it either way, and the mixing would be off, but it's still the same song, which is just kind of weird. They're very experimental. I like the psychedelic sound to it. It's fun. I've grown up on it.
I
Yeah,
don't know
you were
if you
gonna.
have ever seen, they made a movie.
Mhm.
It's this animated movie that like
Yes,
is
the
the
Yellow Submarine.
Beatles.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
movie, my biology teacher showed that to me in 10th grade. She's a huge Beatles fan. It had nothing to do with biology. Like, she just wanted to show it to us. That movie was one of the weirdest movies I think I've ever seen
Mhm.
in my entire life.
Yeah.
It's a representation of a trip for those
Yes.
people who aren't taking psychedelics. I grew up watching that, and I think that explains a lot about me. That was my cartoon to watch and sit down. It's just so weird. There's floating hands and dogs with 3 heads, and the colors are all weird, and they shouldn't be going together. And everybody needs to watch Yellow Submarine at least once, because that's a trip
It's
and a
a
half.
wild movie.
Yeah. All
All
right,
right.
Winfield. What kind
Yeah.
of music do you listen to?
What kind of music do I listen to? I listen to a wide variety, actually. I'm kind of
No way.
along the lines. No way. Yeah, no way. I listen to. Like I said, I grew up on the Beatles, so I'm kind of in. Always had a soft spot for that kind of more chill rock vibe, and that's led me into a lot of alternative music. I know it's controversial for no reason whatsoever, but it's controversial just because people like it. But I like Coldplay stuff, especially a lot of their earlier stuff. Their newer albums, I haven't really listened to all that much. I haven't really paid attention to them.
Honestly, their newer albums are a lot more poppy. Their old albums, I mean, I guess their early stuff were like really, really good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
some of the earliest stuff was like gospel rock too.
Clocks and The Scientists and all that kind of stuff. Those are amazing songs. And then as I kind of grew up and I started going to Makajawan, that's when the Lumineers and Mumford and Sons first
Hey-ho.
came onto the scene. Yeah, those songs, they were kind of played all over the summer, and like the crowd of staff at the time were very folky. So we listened to a lot of Lumineers and all that kind of stuff. And those are the bands that I listen to now a lot. I really like the Lumineers, their last 2 albums, going along the lines of what we were talking about in episode 3 with drug addiction and all that kind of stuff. The last album, which is just, I think, titled 3, is kind of an overarching story and ideas surrounding the struggles with addiction and watching other people struggle with addiction. And then the one before that is the Ballad of Cleopatra, is their second album, and that one was just a masterclass in, I say, storytelling, but like both of the last 2 albums have had these, I think I've told you guys this, but their music videos for their albums are actually short films. So the whole album is the majority of the sound in the short film. Sure, you have sound effects and all that kind of stuff, but there's a story going through it, and each song kind of builds through it. So you have a 30-40 minute short film that goes along with it. And I showed it to my friend, one of them, the Ballad of Cleopatra, and he cried. And he's not one to cry. They're really good. They're really good. They hire some really nice directors, and the way that they integrate the story that they're trying to tell into the music is just awesome. I'll link those 2 because I think those are fun to watch. And if you need to get in your feels at all, those are 2 great things. And then I have been listening to, when I'm in a hype up mood, I do kind of switch over to rap a little bit. I really like Logic. He's just, I think I like the wordplay of him. He's really good at just kind of alliteration and alluding to things. And same thing with Childish Gambino, is that they have really good lyrics. That's what I appreciate in rap. I appreciate the people who can tell stories and can kind of communicate something through it. And that's where you don't see a lot of mumble rapping and all that kind of stuff. Modern rap, it's always a stereotype that they're talking about bitches and hoes and money and that kind of stuff. And I think there's a lot more to rap where we have rappers like Logic and Eminem and Childish Gambino. And you even have the funny rappers like Lil Dicky.
I was saying, if you're liking Logic, Childish Gambino, you should listen to Lil Dicky. He's a little bit different, but along the same line.
Yeah, he's very good at writing lyrics. If you guys haven't heard Lil Dicky before, you probably have, you just didn't know it was him. He's all about rapping in a way that makes people laugh. His lyrics are amazing, but they're always there to make you laugh. And they're always fun to kind of sit around and listen together with people and just have a good time. He pokes fun at rap. He even got Snoop Dogg on his debut album making fun of a rap, which is funny. It's just a cool time. It's a fun time. So that's what I listen to when I get pumped up. My go-to album when I'm skiing is The Incredible True Story by Logic. That
so you like to listen to albums, essentially, like fully throughout an album.
Yeah, because I think there's an art to it. There's an art to the music itself, but the ability to create a full, cohesive album doesn't always have to tell its own story. There's some great albums that just have individual songs that are good, but there's a way of stringing those good individual songs together that make an amazing album. You take some of the world's best albums and you mix around the song order, and they lose some value in that way. There's a specific placement to them. And the albums that I like listening to, like 3 or The Ballad of Cleopatra or The Incredible True Story, there's an extra layer of telling a story through the songs, not just in a song. And you guys know me, I really like telling stories and I like stories as a whole. And it's super cool to see that because you have the individual stories. It's like you can be a good writer and write a good chapter, but how do you write a book? You can write a good song, but how do you write a good album? And that's what I appreciate.
I think a lot of people miss out on that fact of the entire cohesive album as one thing. Because everybody's just listening to the next big Drake song. What's the next big, I don't know, name somebody's next big song. They're focused on the single. They're not focused on the cohesive album.
Mm-hmm. A lot of great artists are doing that still. Like Drake and even Kanye West are making amazing albums as a whole. But it boils down to the people who listen to the album, find that first good song, and then don't listen to any other of it. And you're missing out when you had vinyls and even when you had CDs and tapes. In a way, you were forced to kind of sit down and listen to the whole thing, unless you were taking out the CD every time you wanted to change a song or burning your own CDs. You didn't have that opportunity. It was a different time, and I think people do miss out on that because there are amazing stories in albums. When an artist releases an album, for me, some of the songs I won't like. I know that coming into it. It's just not my song, right? But I make it a point to sit down and listen to the album in its entirety at least once, because there's always something kind of hidden in it, at least a theme to it that gives all of the songs an additional meaning to them, and it adds an extra layer of meaning. And I think more people, as we all have the time now, where in God's name do you need to be? You have a favorite song. I don't know. I don't care whatever song it is you're listening to. This is my time where I get up on my soapbox. You have a favorite song of some favorite band, and it's probably part of an album somewhere. More than likely, it's not a standalone single. Sit down and listen to all of the songs in the album of your favorite song, and you might find something in it that you would have never guessed, even in your favorite song, because you're starting to see where artists are making links to other songs in that album and bringing in different aspects. It's a really cool experience. Each album is like an hour and a half at max.
It's like watching a small movie.
Yeah, like do it. Binge listen an album. Like
you can even be doing something else while doing it, like Shady mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, doing your homework.
When I showed my friend Sam The Incredible True Story, he said, I hate Logic. We were opening up the store at the beginning of the summer at Makajuan, and I said, You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play the entire Incredible True Story. We're folding shirts the entire time. We're setting up the store. And at the end, he goes, wow, that was way better than I thought it was going to be. You may not like one of the songs on the album, but listen to it and you'll find something cool. And I'm going to step off my soapbox. And I think that's actually a good time for us to sign off for the week. I want to thank you guys for visiting us at the Hideaway. My name has been Winfield Jones. I'm joined again by Andy and JP. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a comment and rate us 5 stars on your podcasting app of choice. If you want to suggest a topic or something for us to talk about on the next week's podcast or podcast in the future, you can leave us a voice message at the link in the description below. It'll take you right to our Anchor page, and there'll be a big button that says leave a voice message. Or you can follow us at our socials at twitter.com/Hideaway Podcast or at our respective socials for JP, Andy, or me. Again, my name is Winfield Jones. Thank you for visiting the Hideaway. Have a good day.